I call Todd Muller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a privilege to stand and say a few words on the Papawai Kaikokirikiri Trust Amendment Bill, second reading here this afternoon. Every now and again you get asked to stand on a bill that you have not had the privilege of sitting through in a select committee context. I don't sit in the Māori Affairs Committee, so for me, sitting here and listening to the debate, this is the first time I've been exposed to this particular issue and the solution that we have in front of us. I, like others, have been quite surprised at how many MPs whakapapa back to Papawai. Obviously impressed with the original contribution there by Meka Whatauri and then Materia Ture and Joe Hayes. I was quite impressed with Calvin Davis' extended attempt to try and identify some whakapapa for him with respect to Papawai, and it got me thinking. I mean, my family arrived from Prussia in 1862 on the SS African. I'm sure they might have done a road trip to Wairarapa, sometime in the last 100 years, but as much as I've thought about it, I just can't seem to find a way to add myself to that extraordinary extensive list. In fact, my colleague Joe Hayes reminded me that there is somebody from each one of the political parties represented in this House that whakapapas back to Papawai. The other, I guess, perspective that I reflected on as I looked through the notes and the report back from the Select Committee is the genesis of this, actually, as it often does when we reflect on Māori trusts when they are in front of this House. The genesis of this started from a gift from a people to essentially the country, and in this case expressed through the Anglican Church, for a specific purpose, in this case education for their people. And I think at times we overlook that, particularly in today's world, that so many of the genesis of the Māori trusts came from expressions of generosity that then had legal frameworks that were fit for the time wrapped around them. But as we stand here in 2016, they are no longer fit for purpose because they unduly constrain the successes of that initial gift to the country, and it is appropriate, therefore, that we actually reflect on those frameworks and ensure that that initial gift has legislative support to enable it to thrive not only in today's context but also for the generations to come. So I will acknowledge my colleague, Alistair Scott, who as the local MP has taken this up, and it's with gratitude that I hear of the level of collective endorsement from around the House for his leadership on this issue, and the fact that that has meant that we have a bill here that is supported by all parties, Mr. Speaker. So the framework initially was very paternalistic. We've heard that referenced, very prescriptive, and did not certainly allow the trust arrangements to breathe and grow with the aspirations of the Papawai and Kaikokirikiri Trust of today. So, Mr. Speaker, there's been some key changes envisaged through this bill. We've heard some good speakers already talk through the key components of that, particularly broadening the definition in terms of who will be able to receive the scholarships. Obviously still education at its heart, as it should be, because that was the original intent of the original gift all those years ago. So it's good to see that the changes only create greater flexibility but reinforce the importance of ensuring that education remains core for the Trust's purpose. I think the changes, Mr. Speaker, with respect to governance, again moving from a highly paternalistic and prescriptive approach to one that has at its core the view that the 4 members of the 8 will be appointed from tangata whenua of Wairarapa. So again, we will have a board here that is very much of the local people, for the local people, which reflects the expectation of the local iwi and indeed the expectation of this House. Mr Speaker, it has been very interesting and a privilege to be part of this conversation. It's an example of Parliament at its best, and I very much am pleased to be able to add my voice to those in this House, and I commend it to the House.